On to standards and assessment, Chair Booth. You're not alone.
Allowing or for any stakeholder input on something as important as that. But okay, I'll try to clear my mind and move on with the rest of the meeting. All right. There's some important informational items in backup, which I hope you have availed yourself of. If not, you can catch up after the meeting. There's some really excellent informational items there, and particularly our expression of gratitude for adult education and for educator licensing and the work that is being completed there, and the CTE standards revision implementation process that has been developed. So moving on to action items, 6.5, we had the board policy 5002, and we had quite a discussion, and Member Earl moved that board policy 5002 be updated to include a non-voting member from the Utah Association of Assessment Directors, and the motion passed 4-1, and but we had no motion for the board. However, I believe there may be a motion pending from one of our committee members.
Thank you, Vice Chair Earl.
Yes, I would like to make a motion that we add the language to Board Policy 5002, Assessment Accountability Policy Advisory Committee, that on line 7, 73 and 74, we add, and one member of the Utah Association of Assessment Directors. And that was what we discussed in our committee, but this is the official motion here.
So is that a motion to amend the committee motion?
There is no motion, so this is the motion.
Okay, I'm sorry. Gotcha.
Yep.
All right, so that does require a second then, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not the committee report. Chair Booth seconded. Deputy Stallings.
There's not a committee report, but there is a draft one with that in there. So all the
I
motion
could just
would
say
need
would
to
be move
be
draft
is
one.
to approve
Okay.
draft one on, just
Okay.
to approve draft one.
I move to approve draft 1.
And we don't need a second then? Or we do? All right, all right, Chair Booth's second goes to that motion. Got it. All right, discussion of the motion. Member Davis.
I support the motion because this is a great format and framework, and that's a great addition. Our assessment directors do a ton of work in this space, and when we make big policy decisions surrounding things like this, it's important to involve stakeholders.
Okay, further seeing no other lights. Oh, Member Klein?
I guess I'm just thinking of stakeholders kind of maybe in a new light, that possibly it could be a conflict of interest or a special interest. And I'm just trying to figure that out in my mind. Is this really helpful to have them on, or is there possibly a conflict or a personal interest of that organization to be on this, to move things in a, I don't know, just a thought. But I'm not comfortable with this at this time.
Response or further discussion? I see Chair Norton.
Chair, I just wanted to respond to that comment, if that would be okay.
Sure. To
Okay.
Member Davis? Or
Um,
no?
Norton,
Yes.
that'd be okay too.
No, I mean, responding to whom?
To the comment that Board
Member Klein.
Klein
Gotcha.
just meant,
Yes.
yeah. And that is, I think we have better education when we have a wide group of people involved, and the more different viewpoints that we see, the better our product would be. We hope in all areas that people come in without their biases, et cetera. But oftentimes when, you do walk in with a bias and you listen to other people, you can see some other viewpoints, and that can enlighten as well. So I don't think it ever hurts education to include, business people who are going to be hiring these students that graduate, parents who know the impacts of assessment on students, as well as assessment directors, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's a good idea to look at a diverse group for our stakeholder groups.
All right, thank you. Member Straight.
So I'd like to go back to line 57. So I did serve on this committee. And if you go down to 9 and 10, that should actually be a 1X, shouldn't it? Yeah. So we got to fix that typo. But we have 2 at-large members with assessment expertise, and we have 2 LEA assessment directors. Now we want to add another who's part of their leadership association. So that'd be a total of 5 individuals, and I don't think that's bad, but I think it does skew the committee a little bit. So I would like to make an amendment. And the amendment I'd like to make would be for number, well, I guess it doesn't matter. So let's make number 9 1 LEA assessment director, and then make another Roman numeral 1 association assessment, 1 from the association. So we keep the same numbers. We still end up with 4 individuals who have assessment expertise or who are assessment directors. So
Okay, let's see if that's, oh, sorry. Go
yeah,
ahead.
so the motion is to remove in number 9, change 2 to 1, and make a new number 10, make that the association organization member, and then 10 leave 2 at-large members. So we keep the same numbers and not skew it too much.
Vice Chair Earl. Oh, well, we need a second there. Do we have a second?
Yeah. And I think Joe carries for me.
Well, we have a second, so now we can discuss if folks want to weigh in. Member Carey, are you up first? Yeah.
Yeah, I would speak in.
Well, although I didn't, I hate to cut you off. I forgot to ask Member Straight if he wanted to speak as the maker. Did you have further? I keep jumping from the maker.
Which is a good idea. We are actually adding 1 member.
Yep. I
on
thought
line
it did.
7.
Is your mic? Hold on.
Oh, sorry. No, I should have looked. So on line 74, we are adding 1 member. What I'm saying is, let's replace that 1 member, because I think this is a great idea to have the Utah Association of Assessment Directors have a member from their organization. I think that's a great idea. But let's not increase that number. Let's remove, make that replace line 67 and 68 and then 69. Keep the same number at 4. So we don't have an over-representation from just 1 group. Although I think they're a very important member of that group. It would just keep it at 4 instead of add it to 5.
Member Carey.
Yeah, Yeah, I'd like to speak in opposition to the motion. My primary concern is that now we have 2 LEA assessment directors with voting power, and we're under Board Member Earl's motion, we would be adding a non-voting member from the Utah Association of Assessment Directors. I would feel uncomfortable replacing one of the 2 LEA assessment directors, which I would view as a dilution of power, in order to replace an LEA assessment director with a member from the Utah Association of Assessment Directors. So that would be my concern. Under the original motion, we would keep the 2 LEA as voting members, and the third member from the Utah Association of Assessment Directors, you would have the benefit and insight of that entire organization, but they would not have that voting power, which I think goes to a Board Member Earl's concern about a conflict and a special interest group having voting power within this organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Earl.
Yeah, I'm going to speak against this, and here's the reason why. If you go listen to our committee meeting, we discussed this thoroughly. Right now, the people on that association have the possibility of having up to 5 members from their committee be on this this particular group that are voting members, because they are vested in this. They can fill the at-large places. There's 2 of them. They can fill the assessment directors. And I think it was also expertise in at-risk or underachievement. So really, why we put them on as a non-voting member is we did value their feedback and their input, but they already have the ability to possibly get up to 5 people from their organization on this committee, even if we didn't spell that out. So I would speak against this because I just feel like we want it broadly spread. Most of the assessment directors and a lot of people are already engaged in this association, and keeping it balanced with enough people, but not overemphasis in one area. And that's why we felt that we wanted their expertise, we wanted their information, we wanted someone from that association. We didn't want to belittle that, but we also didn't want it so heavily weighted that it may take away from, anyways, or not add to, I guess, maybe that's the more appropriate way, so.
Okay, I think we're back to Member Straight and then Member Davis.
Yeah, just a nuance. If you notice, I am moving the non-voting and moving them to a voting position. I think that's much different. I think their impact as a voting member would be more amplified from the association, the voice of the association, through this committee as a voting member rather than a non-voting member. So, and you know, if it makes things work better, we could move that person down from assessment director. We could move another assessment director down to a non-voting position. In other words, you're just flopping that, keeping the same number of votes, and adding someone in from the association, from their association as a voting member. So I think that's a nuance that's important to remember in this discussion. I think it's a great idea to add them in, but I think they should be a voting member.
Vice Chair Earl, do you want to respond to that? And just for clarity, just so we understand what
They've
is
never,
and what ought to be.
they've never
Let's
not
hear that.
had I mean, they have voting members on there. They're in there already. They're there, they're present, and I just think they're going to be there. One of their individuals is most likely going to fill, if not 1, 4 or 5 of these positions. So I guess it's up to the board if they want to do that. I just don't think it's necessary.
Okay, Member Davis. Oh, there you go.
I'll speak in support of the motion. The way I'm understanding it is that where it says 2 individual LEA members, that would become 1 member, and the association member would pop up to take that second spot. So it would be 1 vote for 1 vote. There wouldn't be any additional influence. And the assessment directors choose these leaders to represent them in meetings just such as this. So it stands to reason that that person would be on the committee.
Okay, any final discussion to the motion? Seeing none, I think we can tee up to vote. Motion then, from Member Straight is to amend that the board remove one position from number 9 and create a number 10 with that remaining position to have one LEA assessment director and one Utah Association of Assessment Directors members. Was that a yes, Member Reel?
This is for the amendment.
This is for Member Straight's amendment, correct? Oh, Board Member Hymas?
No.
Did I don't know if I... Oh, sorry. Thought I did. Okay. We have one more. That motion passes. Voting is complete, 8-7, with the noes being Klein, Hymas, Green, Carey, Earl, Reel, and Bogus. Okay. Back to Chair Booth. Oh, wait, are we done with that one? No, oh, we are not done. Sorry, that was just a motion to amend.
Clarification, they're going to be a non-voting member and a voting member now too, right? We've scratched the non-voting? Okay.
Okay, so we're back then to Member Earl's motion that the board, that the board approve Board Policy 5002, Draft 1, as amended by Member Straight's motion. Any discussion? Member Wood?
Can we confirm that that motion did eliminate the non-voting? Because I didn't see that in the wording, but I might have. If not, I'd like to motion that we strike non-voting member.
Clarification to whom? Who's our best person to? Elise is raising? No? Oh, okay. All right. Do we need Deputy Stahl? Oh, did she We're just asking for clarification on what was passed, right? The effect of that, whether it was to eliminate one of the maybe just tee that up for Elise to make sure we know the technical question. This is about what just happened, Elise. So Member Wood.
Right. The motion as stated does not specifically strike the non-voting member in line 74. That is in draft 1.
That's correct.
So I move that we strike line 74 from draft 1.
Is there a second? It's been seconded.
Second.
Line 74. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Did we get a second on that? Yeah, okay. Discussion, I don't see any lights. The motion is to amend that the board amend the draft to strike line 74. So, yes, let's vote. Member Hymas? Motion is to
I can't read that.
Sorry, the motion is to strike.
So I'm going to abstain, Jim, if that's okay, Chair. Sorry, I'll just
Gotcha.
abstain. I can't read it. Thank you.
We got you. Thank you. Okay. Did I vote? Yeah, I did. We're missing 3. two more.
Yeah.
Line 74, which was,
Association as a non-voting member.
one more. Okay. Okay, voting is complete, with one absent. Motion passes 12 in favor, one abstaining, one no. No vote being Member Klein and Member Hymus abstaining. Okay, let's see. Back to Chair Booth now, right? Back to Vice Chair Earl's motion. I thought that was as amended. Okay, no, you're right. Sorry, we're back to as amended. All right, so the underlying motion that the board approve Board Policy 5002, Draft 1, as amended. And Member Booth.
We're back to the next item.
No, sorry, we're back to the underlying motion now that it's been amended. So we're still on, yeah, we're ready to vote then unless you had comments to the motion.
No, I
Okay.
don't.
All right, I think we're set to vote then. Yes, voting is open.
Member Hymus is yes.
Thank you. Yeah, is Member Hymus in there? He's a yes. What's that?
What it was saying? Yes.
Oh. Okay, one more. I think we are missing. Who are we missing again? Member Reel. Okay, so voting is closed with 14 votes. We've got 10 in favor, 4 against. That motion passes. No votes are Member Klein, Member Green, Member Carey, and Member Bogus. And now we're back to Member Chair Booth.
All right. Item 6.6, action item R277326. It's the early learning amendment. And the committee recommends that the board approve R277-326, early learning draft 1 on second and final reading.
Any discussion to that? Member Klein.
I'll just reiterate what I said in committee, that this exempts teachers of the deaf from early literacy training, the training requirement. And I just think that that's a disservice to our deaf students who need teachers that are even better trained to help them, because they have extra challenges with that. They shouldn't be exempted. They just, if anything, they should have more help in learning in how to help these deaf students learn to read.
Okay. Member Bogus? Or, no, sorry?
That would cause me to have a question, sir. Are they exempted from teaching traditional reading training, or are they exempted from training and instruction in teaching young deaf and blind students how to read?
What you answered is they are exempt, just the way you said it. They will not be doing the same letters training. What they do is their own specialized training around which students they would be addressing. So that is the difference.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions or comments? Seeing no lights, we can vote. Motion is the board approves 277-326, early learning, draft 1 on second and final reading.
Hymus is a yes.
Gotcha. Oh. Yes. It's gone. That's not a good option. I don't show myself up there. Oh, okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. I'm the ghost in the machine. Let's see. We got Member Hymus, right? Yep. Okay. Are we missing anybody? We don't have Member Reel, but okay. We're still doing the. I think so. Just like Member Hymus, right? If your screen's not working. So Member Bogus is a yes. And let's see. We still have 2 missing. We don't have, do we have Bogus up there? I can't put it in. Oh, okay. All right, so voting's closed. We have 11 plus member Bogus for 12. 2 opposed. Motion carries. The noes are member Green and member Klein. Okay, let's see. And that's back to Chair Booth, I think. Yeah.
Our final action item is 277604, and the committee recommends that the board approve 277604, private school, home school, and Bureau of Indian Student Participation in Public School Achievement Tests, Draft 2, on second and final reading.
Any discussion? I see member Klein.
A lot of the amendments are to add in scholarship students. So I would think that the title of this rule should be changed to incorporate that as well, because it's not reflected in the title like the other things are.
So to add the word scholarship, I think that looks like it might have been redlined in, if I'm reading correctly. The title of R27604.
Say scholarship, I'm looking at
Did they add it in?
It looks like that was added in. They read your mind if I'm reading this correctly. Tell me if I'm not, though.
I'm seeing it on mine.
In draft 2?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, it's there.
Okay.
All right.
They
And
got
I'll
you.
just, may I make a comment too?
Yes.
I'll just also say, what I said in committee, I'm concerned that this is so comprehensive in its, it feels to me like it was written such that at some future point, it could easily, they could swap out the may for a shall, and then, and in doing so, require homeschoolers and scholarship students to take the state assessment. And so I won't be supporting this. And I would maybe ask that there be some consideration into putting an explicit prohibition that that end up becoming a requirement at some future point.
Okay, thank you. That's not an amendment, basically a note for future consideration, okay? All right, I don't see any more lights. Nope, member Bogus.
Can't help myself, sir. After reading this, I have great consternation that this is not written in line with legislative intent. There's many pieces of this that, as I read it, and I don't just ask myself, what does this say? I ask myself, what does this do? And what will this, how will this regulate the families in these programs? And what will they be required to do as a result of their participation? And when I answer those questions, I don't see this rule as in line with legislative intent, or at least the stated legislative intent of 215. And as such, I would move that we send this back to committee to re-debate and flesh out those issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Earl.
Yeah, I'm not sure what, I mean, this is just if they want to participate in the state assessment. This just provides a framework for that to happen. So I'm not sure what would be fleshing out in committee. This sets up if a private school, if a homeschool student, if a scholarship student, and I mean, it just, what would be the framework if they wanted to participate in the state assessment? It sets that all out. It creates a framework for that. So I don't know what the fleshing out part is. And that's if they choose that, these individuals. So I don't know if I'm missing something, so.
Back to member Bogus, yeah.
Thank you, sir. So my response to that would be, as a homeschool student, you can already take a test. You don't need a state rule to allow you to do that. You can contact a number of assessment organizations to engage your child to do that. And so you don't need that framework. And my concern is very much so in line with Member Klein's, in that one day we change a may to a shall, and it's game over. And our homeschool community desperately wants autonomy. They want freedom from data mining. They have made those choices, and this to me just is not in line with what our legislators stated when they ran that bill. And, and I would, I have so many amendments, I just move it back to committee. Thank you.
Vice Chair Earl, well,
Yeah,
let's see,
just
unless
one-
somebody
oh.
else, nope, you got it.
Just one other comment. I think this is if they choose to take the state assessment, which, you're right, most homeschool families, if they want an assessment, probably will not go to the state to say, will you please give my child the RISE assessment? This is if they choose that and the availability for that. This creates the framework. So that's.
Kelsey and Sybil? Is there a motion? Okay. Sorry, I wasn't sure if that was a formal motion. So you've got a motion on the floor to postpone and refer to committee. And is there a second? Superintendent, do you want to speak to that before we get to a vote? Okay. Is there a second to the motion to postpone and refer back to committee? Member Green, seconds? Okay. Superintendent?
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Moss. Kelsey, could you bring the rule back up again? Whoever's driving. Greg, who's driving? Okay. Starting with line 13, I know there's an insert here, but this is not to throw anyone under the bus for the way we write rules. I'm certainly not an expert, but this is a good example of where we should be using student first language so that we don't start calling students scholarship students or BIE students or homeschool students, because they are all students or students, they're participating in a program. So I want to caution us that we use student first language so that we're not suddenly labeling kids by the choices that their families are making for them or in any other way. You know how hopefully you all know how I feel about that it's, they're not a special education student, they're a student with a disability or a student who, so just if we can fix that as we go to our rule writing team, anytime we see that, if we can put student first language, I know that I have staff that would really appreciate that, as do I. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Member Davis? Oh, yes. Deputy Stallings.
Just FYI, we did receive that feedback previously, and these are actually defined terms in code. So scholarship student is a defined term in Utah code that we're referring to. So we actually don't have authority to change it in this case.
But we can take that to the we
Taking
can
that to the
take
Hill.
that to the legislature.
I'm
yes.
taking that to the hill, sir.
Let's go. All right. Oh goodness. Okay, sorry. All right, Member Klein.
Yes, I was just going to comment on what Superintendent Dixon said, and as far as these distinctions, these are super important distinctions that families want to be distinguished by, so that they don't get accidentally lumped in or to the system's language or the terms that the system can regulate. And so I think we have to keep those bright lines where families have chosen a different way to do their education than what the state has provided, so that there's no ambiguity there, and there's no way that the state can come in and usurp or put regulations on them, and that is why there has to be those distinctions.
All right. I think I know where you're, Member Davis.
I just
Do we
question.
have a motion? I thought we had a motion. Okay. It's the motion to refer, so yeah, so Member Davis, then Member Bogus.
So what the committee proposed out just allows, my understanding, allows parents the option to participate if they want to, but they don't have to. But if we didn't have that they may participate in this, then like, for example, the ACT that the state pays for in 11th grade year and the prep ACTs, they wouldn't have access to any of that. Is that right?
The question, if we don't include them here,
If
would they
these
not have
students
access?
couldn't
Yeah.
participate, would they not have access to any of those?
Deputy Stallings?
Green, red. Yes, this rule ensures that LEAs do provide that access for free to
If
students.
they want it, but they
If they
don't
want it.
have to do it.
It's correct. It is 100% voluntary, but it's not voluntary for the LEA to provide it to the
offer.
student. It's voluntary for the student and parent to take the test for free. But you're right, they could go to another provider and pay for it themselves.
Okay.
All right, we've got Member Lear, Member Bogus. Are you? Okay, Member Lear.
I've had several out-of-body moments in this meeting where I just can't quite believe what I'm hearing. But this is another one that feels like Tom Cruise and Minority Report, where we're afraid of what's going to happen. So let's insert lines and deletions and extra words because we're speculating what might happen in the future. And there is no sense of that. There's never in the 30 years that I remember working with homeschool students that we've ever suggested there should be testing of homeschool students who don't want it. This is just a permissive way for LEAs to manage the opportunity if individual families want it.
Okay, I've got Member Bogus a light on and
I don't want to
No?
speak. I just would
Okay.
rather vote and then.
got it. Okay. Anything further, Vice Chair Earl? Were you going to speak to this?
No.
Member Booth jumped in. Okay.
My question is, why do we spend such a long time in committees and bring a recommendation, and then it's as if the committee never met? Not that I'm not enjoying all of the other views, but I feel like we better just start doing things in here because we could sure use the time that we're spending in committee in here instead of going till 2:45 a.m. Getting things done, because recommendations of committees seem to just be ignored by those who were not in the committee meeting. And that's, if that's the way it is, I can pull up my boots and be happy. But I just like us to consider that all of us are trying hard to bring our best ideas to every meeting, and I don't want us to get in the habit of just ignoring those many hours that Law and Licensing or the Finance Committee or Standards and Assessment have spent in deliberating and coming up with what they're recommending to the board. Because we're spending probably more time in the board than we were in committees. But anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, Member Booth. And I'll just remind the members the good news and the hard news is we have a hard stop at 5. So we will not be here at 2 in the morning. Appreciate the work of committees, and we do have another, 10 members that aren't in the committees, and so we do want to hear from those that didn't have a shot at it, but let's try to move it all forward. I don't think we have any further lights on, so we can go ahead with a vote on the motion. The motion is, let's see, I don't need to read it. Motion is to postpone, refer back to committee, correct? Did I get? All right. So motion is to postpone, refer back to committee. Voting is open.
Imus is a no.
Thank you. Is that everybody? We're missing Member Reel, I think. So, we got everybody. Voting is closed. Motion fails. 14 in opposition, 1 in favor. Member Bogus.
Someone could hit her button for her without
All right, let's see, back to Chair Booth, correct? No? I'm sorry, we are not,
We have to go to the underlying motion.
we still have the underlying motion, apologize, okay. Can we bring back up the underlying motion? This is on R277.
It failed.
Yeah, we didn't refer back, so we have pending R277-604. Member Bogus, did you have a? Please, you bet.
I'm sorry. Thank you. My question is, Chair, why did we remove written policies as opposed to just policies? Is there, as I reread this again, like third time, I go, I don't understand that.
I could speak to it if you'd like.
Chair Booth, would you like to defer to Deputy Stallings?
Me too.
Take it away, Angie.
The feedback we received from small school districts and charter schools is that there are times when some of them have never, ever received a request for a family or a parent, and they would prefer to handle it as a policy or procedure that's not necessarily written, because otherwise you have potentially, 100 LEAs that might be required to create a policy that's approved by their board that they never use. So there are many LEAs who do have written policies. Those that have more frequent requests have written policies. But that was a request from our smaller LEAs saying, please strike written, because we feel very confident and comfortable accommodating students even without a written policy. So it wouldn't give them, for example, the right to deny or, tell a parent that or a student that they could not do it. I don't know if that helps, but it was a request of the smaller LEAs to reduce burdens.
I have a small follow-up.
Sure.
Would this create, and I know you say small in number, but would this create a situation where students would be treated differently without a policy in place to prevent it?
Right now, the rule allows each LEA to establish their own policy. So there's not a uniform, one standard way to handle things. And that is the question. There is, I guess, a risk, but because so many of our LEAs, especially the charter schools and maybe some of the smaller districts, have never received a request ever, that's really who made this request. So I would guess that most of the large ones do have policies in place because it is a frequent event. But there is that risk there.
Okay, thank you.
I apologize, we're looking ahead here. Okay. Further questions, comments, discussion?
Here's my list, and I forgot to get to this one when I talked to you.
Oh, gotcha, okay, all right. Okay, apologies. Our underlying motion then, right, is back that the board approve R277-604, Private School, Homeschool, and Bureau of Indian Student Participation in Public School Achievement Test Draft 2 on second and final reading. Let's vote.
Hymas is a yes.
Thank you, gotcha. All right, so that's bounced. Oh, I'm sorry, okay. Gotcha. All right.
Yes for Hymas and Straight.
Yes is for Hymas. Member Straight's not with us. Does that mean, okay, so voting's closed. Motion passes, 12 votes to 2. The noes being Member Klein and Member Bogus. Back to Chair Booth. Does that conclude standards and assessment? Okay, thank you, sir.